You really thought you could steal from your own mother, my sister snapped across the dinner table. Everyone stared as she waved a bank statement. I whispered, "That's not true." She smiled coldly. "Then explain the missing money." My name is Natalie Carter, and I'm 34 years old. I work as a public library coordinator in a quiet town where most days are filled with the smell of old books, paper, and coffee from the tiny break room. My job is simple but meaningful. I organize literacy programs, run community reading nights, and help people find information they need. I've always been the practical one in my family, the one who shows up early, fixes problems, and keeps things running smoothly. My younger sister, Emily, was different. She was the one everyone praised, the one they defended no matter what she did. If she forgot a responsibility, someone else would quietly fix it. If I made a mistake, it was suddenly a big conversation. When our mother started having health problems last year, I stepped in to help. I managed bills, scheduled medical appointments, and made sure groceries were delivered when she felt too weak to shop. I didn't do it for praise. I did it because she was my mom. Emily often joked that I liked being in control. She said it with a laugh, but there was always something sharp behind it. The truth is, I wasn't rich or glamorous. I lived in a small apartment and drove a used car. But I had patience, organization, and a habit of documenting everything carefully. When the accusation about stealing money exploded that night, it felt like the ground disappeared under my feet. If you've ever been the responsible one in your family but still felt overlooked, you probably understand how that feels. Maybe someone blamed you for something you never did. If that sounds familiar, subscribe and share your story in the comments. And if you want to support stories like this, tap like and click hype. That Sunday dinner started like any other. Mom's house smelled like roasted chicken and garlic bread. The kitchen clock ticked loudly while we sat around the table. Emily suddenly cleared her throat. "We need to talk about something serious," she said. I looked up from my plate. She slid a piece of paper onto the table. $12,000 is missing from Mom's savings account. My fork froze in my hand. "What?" I said. Emily pointed directly at me. "You're the only one with access." I felt heat rush to my face. "I only use the account to pay bills and order groceries," I said quickly. She lifted a stack of printed statements. "Then how do you explain these transfers?" My aunt leaned forward, squinting at the paper. My cousin whispered something under his breath. Mom looked confused and hurt. "Natalie," she said softly, "did you take the money?" That question cut deeper than anything else. "No," I said, my voice shaking. "I didn't take anything." Emily sighed dramatically. "I didn't want to believe it either," she said, "but the evidence is right here." The room filled with murmurs. I tried to explain every payment I had made for utilities, prescriptions, and groceries, but it felt like nobody was listening anymore. Emily had already built the story in their minds. By the time dinner ended, people avoided my eyes. I grabbed my coat and left early. That night, my phone buzzed nonstop. Cousins texted asking if the rumors were true. That was when I realized something terrifying. Emily had already told the whole family I stole Mom's money. The next week was worse. I opened my phone one morning and realized I had been removed from the family group chat. I stared at the empty screen for a long time. Emily told everyone I shouldn't manage Mom's finances anymore. Suddenly, relatives who used to call me for help stopped answering messages. It felt like I had been quietly erased. A few days later, we attended a small birthday gathering for my uncle. The room smelled like vanilla cake and sugary frosting. Emily stood near the kitchen island, talking loudly. "Some people will do anything for money," she said. Her eyes slid toward me while guests stood uncomfortably silent. I felt every stare in the room. I forced myself to keep my voice calm. "Emily, stop," I said quietly. She shrugged. "What? I'm just speaking the truth." Even casual conversations became awkward. When I walked into a room, voices lowered. The worst part was Mom. She stopped calling me about bills. She changed her banking passwords after Emily convinced her it was safer. The distance hurt more than the rumors. I had been the one handling everything when Mom was sick. Now she barely trusted me. Still, I didn't argue anymore. Instead, I went home and opened my laptop. I began reviewing every transaction I had ever made for her account.
Working in a library taught me something important. Records matter. I always saved receipts, confirmation emails, and account alerts. It was just a habit. Late one night, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop glowing in the dark. The hum of the refrigerator filled the quiet apartment. I searched through old emails and bank notifications. What they didn't know was that every payment I ever made had a digital trail. As I compared the records, something strange appeared. Several transfers happened at times when I was at work, running events. I checked my login history. Those transactions came from a device that wasn't mine. My heart started pounding. I looked closer at the timestamps and account alerts. Each transfer had a location tag. I saved screenshots and downloaded reports. The more I searched, the clearer it became. Someone else had used the account and tried to make it look like me. I leaned back in my chair and whispered to myself, "Okay, now I see what's happening." Quietly, I began building a file of every document, every login history, every record that proved the truth. A few days later, my cousin Rachel called me. Rachel had always been treated like an outsider in our family. She spoke her mind too much for their comfort. "Natalie, I don't believe what Emily said," she told me. I felt relief for the first time in days. "Thank you," I said softly. Rachel lowered her voice. "I heard something strange last weekend," she continued. "Emily was talking to a friend and said she finally fixed the family problem." My stomach tightened. I told Rachel about the records I found. She came over that evening and we sat together reviewing everything. Rachel pointed at one line on the report. "Look at this," she said. "These transfers came from a laptop registered to Emily's home network." The room went quiet. Meanwhile, Emily kept acting confident. She told relatives she was protecting Mom from greedy people. I stayed silent and kept collecting evidence. Rachel warned me not to confront Emily yet. Let her think she already won, she said. That advice stuck with me. For the first time since the accusation, I felt calm. A week later, Mom asked everyone to meet at the family lawyer's office. She said we needed to review finances and update legal documents. The office smelled faintly of polished wood and printer ink. Emily walked in smiling like she had already solved everything. She sat across from me and crossed her arms. "I'm glad we're finally addressing this," she said. The lawyer asked what the problem was. Emily spoke immediately. "Natalie drained Mom's account," she said firmly. I waited until she finished. Then I placed a thick folder on the table. My voice was steady. "Before anyone decides that, I think we should look at the full records." I handed the lawyer the printed reports. Page by page, I explained each transaction. "These payments are utilities, groceries, prescriptions," I said. Then I showed the login history, and these transfers came from a different device. Rachel leaned forward. "The IP address matches Emily's home network," she added. The lawyer adjusted his glasses and studied the documents carefully. Silence filled the room. Finally, he looked up. "The evidence clearly shows these transfers were initiated from Emily's device," he said. Emily's face turned pale. "That's not possible," she said quickly. "It must be a mistake." The lawyer shook his head. "The pattern shows repeated access from the same location." Mom stared at Emily with disbelief. I felt the weight of weeks of accusations lift off my chest. I looked directly at my sister. "I never took a single dollar," I said quietly. The room felt heavy after the truth came out. Nobody spoke for several seconds.
Emily tried to explain, saying she only moved money temporarily, but the documents told the real story. Mom looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I nodded slowly. The apology mattered, but the damage was already there. Trust, once broken, doesn't return easily. I told Mom I wouldn't handle her finances anymore. She understood. Life slowly moved forward. I focused on my work at the library and the community programs I loved. Rachel and I stayed close after everything. She had been the only one who stood beside me when the accusations spread. Looking back, I realized something important. Being quiet doesn't mean being weak. Sometimes the truth waits patiently until the right moment to be seen. If you've ever been accused of something you didn't do, especially when money's involved, you know how painful that can be. Families sometimes break trust over finances. If you've experienced that, share your story in the comments and subscribe so we can support each other. And please click hype to help this story reach others who need to hear it. Did this story hit home for you? If it did, give the video a like and share your thoughts in the comments. Your experiences might help someone else feel less alone. And if you want this story to reach more people who understand, click hype. Your support truly makes a difference.